All right, hello, everyone. Good evening. So go ahead and give a few of you folks just a couple minutes before we get started on today's director's session on engaging new players. I'll just give us just a few moments here. All right, perfect. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Apologies for the late start. We were finishing up another session right before this one. So today we're going to be talking about engaging new players. As always, we love to start with a quote. This one is, "You never get a second chance to make a first impression." And that is by Will Rogers. So a couple things that we'll be going over today is a welcome and objective, why first impressions matter, confident introductions, presentation and body language, communication tips for different personalities, small talk starters, creating belonging, building loyalty, role play scenarios, wrap up action items, and Q&A. Hey, Dennis. All right, so what is our goal? What's the session's goal today? Today's goal is to equip directors with tools and strategies to confidently welcome new players, build connections, and create a sense of belonging from day one. So why first impressions matter? So research does show that it takes just 7 seconds to form a first impression. Now, this is from the Psychological Science of 2006. There was an actual research study that was based on this. Now, these impressions are often based on visual cues like posture, attire, facial expressions, tone of your voice. New players decide quickly whether they'll return, often before they even throw their very first bag. Now, a warm, welcoming environment increases the chance that they'll come back and become a regular, which is 100% what we all want. Now, a couple of excerpts and insights from the study that was done in 2006 said that first impressions are formed rapidly and are often sticky, affecting future interactions. Observers from trait impressions, such as competence and trustworthiness within a split second of seeing a face, and even minimal social contact can create a long-lasting impact, especially when no context exists. So confident introductions. Making sure that as you see a new player, you're greeting them with a smile. It could be firm but friendly tone, asking them their name and trying to use it again in conversation. Now, those of you who probably know me a little bit more personally know that remembering names is one of the hardest things that I've had to learn and continue to try to figure out better ways to do so. One of the best ways to do that is to try to do a quick one-on-one, say their name again, do a reintroduction, try to find unique ways in order to try to remember somebody's name. Provide a quick overview of the event flow, even go up and say, hey, is this your first time that you've been here? Maybe you have about 10 or 15 minutes until your night is about to start, or your regional event, state event, whatever the case may be, a local night. Try to give a little bit of a one-on-one, welcome them, say, hey, I noticed this is your first time here. Have you been here before, at this venue for any other type of event? What brought you here? Getting a little bit of, information from them. In addition to that, you can also use your microphone to explain, what the event is, what you guys are doing. We're running 4-game round robin followed by a single or double elimination, game of knockout after it. This is how many players are going to play in a swap. Whatever the case is, explain as much information as possible. A really fun, unique thing to do is also assign a buddy or ask a returning player to help guide them. I love this with swaps and any type of event. Sometimes a BYOP, if someone doesn't have a partner. Sometimes they'll play with somebody new. I always have some really, really great players who make it a huge point to go and welcome the new player, say, hey, how are you? What type of bags do you throw? Do you want to borrow my bags? And everyone is incredibly welcoming. So you want to make sure that no matter where a player goes, they feel like they're playing, at home. We do live in a retirement community in my area, so we do get a lot of out-of-town players that maybe only play with us a month out of the entire season. Sometimes you get them a couple weeks. There's a couple that we know on the first day of a certain month, they're going to be back in town. It makes it incredibly exciting. So that's always something good to do and remember. Presentation and body language. So making sure that you present yourself very well. Not only are you a representative of, your club, you're a representative of yourself, the ACL, your brand, trying to make sure that you, stand up straight, sit up straight, trying to maintain eye contact. Not too much eye contact because sometimes I can get awkward, but definitely trying to maintain some type of eye contact. Make sure that you're smiling naturally, show genuine enthusiasm, use open body posture and relaxed gestures, be mindful of group dynamics, invite others into your space. Let's say you have somebody new, you're having a conversation maybe with a group of regulars, you could say, oh man, how many points do you think so-and-so is going to get tonight? And then, maybe invite the new person and say, hey, this person scored, 20 out of the 21 points last time. Do you think they can do it again? Or, what would you do differently? Anything that you can do to try to open up that communication for that player to feel really comfortable. And always be mindful of, again, group dynamics. I think that's incredibly important. Sometimes at a lot of, locations, you have your silos and groups of, people where typically the director is the one who, bounces in between all the silos, talks to a little bit of everyone. So trying to find ways to, create some type of a bridge between all the silos so that it makes it a little bit easier for people to communicate and work with each other is great as well. Communication tips for different personalities. So this one is also incredibly important. Sometimes you have, really, really shy players. I can definitely tell you that the very, very first time I ever attended a cornhole tournament, and for a huge amount of time, I would say the first 5 or 6 months when I would attend a cornhole tournament, this was way before directing, I would find the farthest corner of the entire venue and sit the farthest away from any type of human connection possible. So definitely, one thing that I think helped me was that people would, give the respect of giving some space. Some folks would be very encouraging. We have a lot of sarcasm at our club, so it made it very, very interesting. But also, checking and like saying, hey, glad to see you again today, or nice to meet you, anything that you can do with that. And yes, Daryl, remember every tournament is possibly someone's first tournament, 100%. Outgoing players. Sometimes you have people where you are matching their energy. So provide any type of opportunities to engage. We do a very fun thing at our club that we call roasting hour. Typically after a very long day of a regional, we've been sweating, running around for hours on end, maybe 5 or 6 hours. We do an end of night, blind draw or a fun crew cup. I get on the microphone and I say, all right, it has been your day all day today. It is now my time. It is roasting hour. And so trying to make it fun, hilarious, making everybody laugh. And also players who are brand new, I always make sure to also point them out as well. And so we try to make it really fun. Nervous players, make sure that you do reassure them, let them know that mistakes are okay. This is what's going to bring back those players who feel like maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I can't play this game. Oh my gosh, I just got partnered up with someone who is throwing every single bag in the hole. They are nervous. You can tell just based off of their facial expression, making sure that you are just pumping them up the entire time. And then competitive players, share details on their rankings, skill levels, upcoming events. You might notice you have a player who is constantly going to your events. Maybe they're working with a new player and say, hey, just so you know, this is what you're averaging. You might be the highest PPR of the night, or, maybe you have the best DPR. Whatever the case is, also maintain that communication with folks that are also regulars as well. All right. Small talk starters. This is really good too. These are some really, really good questions that kind of break the ice a little bit. So I probably should have titled this Icebreakers. Is this your first time playing? Where do you hear about the event? What got you interested in cornhole? That's one of my favorite questions to ask people. My favorite is when I ask, typically, one of the ladies, and a lot of them will say, my husband was playing and he said, if you beat me in a game of cornhole or if you hit one airmail, I'll do the dishes for the night. Whatever the case is, it's really, really fun to get those stories in. Listen actively, engage with what they say. One of the funny jokes that I tell everyone is, that directors have eyes and ears everywhere. And so trying to kind of listen in on some conversations, obviously if they're private, making sure that I'm not paying attention. But if you hear, something funny or interesting, or did something happen on the boards, or, is there a funny nickname that maybe someone is calling somebody? That definitely helps. Daryl, if they hit the ceiling, remind them that they have to hit it to know where it is. Works every time. That's a good one. I like that one. Sometimes we have a situation where, at least in my backyard, we have a tree. Everyone hits the tree. We call it tree fence. So, it's a tree helping you with your defensive game, or they're helping the other guy out, because you're so good. Whatever the case is. I have a really good story. I call it the Minabella Woods story. If she was to ever watch this video, she would probably shish kebab me because I'm using her as an example. Minabella Woods is an incredibly phenomenal player. She is an elite player. She is one of those kiddos that she's a sweet looking little girl that she walks up next to you and you think that you are going to teach her a lesson, and she will teach you the lesson 10 different ways over with a smile on her face or with zero expression. I remember for the longest time there was this father and daughter. The only events that they ever showed up to were regional events. Nobody knew their name. Nobody knew where they came from. They didn't sit near anyone. They didn't talk to anybody. Nothing. And, it went on like this for quite a while. Decided to go up to the dad one day while Minabella was playing and introduced myself. I said, hey, I've seen you here at a couple of events. Just wanted to say hello. Where do you live? Are you in the area? Are you guys just here for regionals? Did you know that we, run local events? So just started some of those conversation bits. And, I let him know, I said, she is an incredible player. We love watching her, especially having, another young lady play at our club was incredibly exciting because we don't get too many of those. Now we have a ton of kiddos playing at our club, which is exciting. But fast forward, 2 years later, that exact player who was incredibly quiet, didn't really talk to anyone, they didn't know anybody, now shows up to every single local night, every single fundraiser. This girl is traveling across the country to play in some of the most competitive tournaments that there are to watch, and she is kicking butt every single time. So it has been such a cool, moment to really, be able to make that connection. And, maybe had, myself and some other players not tried to just introduce ourselves and say, welcome, we would love to have you here. Please come out on a Tuesday, we'll give you a freebie night, whatever the case is. And now I think some of the players wish that someday she would, allow them to win one night. But it's those small things and those introductions that now she is one of those players that everyone will stand behind. She needs a fundraiser. The entire community is there. Our families are all very, very close. She became a huge part of our, cornhole, group, our cornhole kids that we call a lot of them. And it has been such an incredible, it's been incredible to watch. We're all very proud of her. And it all started with just that initial introduction. Create belonging. So highlighting community values and, your club's culture. Encourage players, join our Facebook group, follow our social media channels, introduce them to others with similar backgrounds or interests. Celebrate their wins no matter how small. If you see this brand new player and for some crazy reason they hit an airmail, explode. Go as crazy as you can. Celebrate them on the microphone. Do whatever it is that you can to let them know that you saw it. Cheer them on. It is going to hype them up. It might make them freak out just a little bit, but for a majority of the players, it's going to create that exciting experience because it is exciting. To this day, we have some players who will hit a four-bagger and they have been hitting four-baggers for years, and you will still hear everyone, cheering them on and getting incredibly excited for it. A good way to building loyalty, excuse me, is to follow up with maybe a thank you message or a shout out on social media. I notice a lot of directors do this as well. They say, hey, thank you all for coming out tonight. We appreciate you guys for coming. Shout out to so-and-so for their first time coming out. Shout out to so-and-so for their first time at a podium. Whatever it is that you can do to try to make them feel a little bit special and remind them that, where you play at your club is a fun place to be. A first-timer discount. This has worked wonders with our club. Instead of a $10 buy-in, if it is your very, very first time ever playing, or if you are a novice skilled player, it is $10 for anyone who is competitive and above, $5 for anyone who is intermediate, novice, or below. More often than not, those are the players who might not win. However, they end up having a higher chance in partnering with someone that maybe they do win. But it does help with that experience and makes them feel like they are buying in to learn more so than donating to the pot. Invite them to participate in beginner-friendly leagues or clinics. A lot of directors that I've seen run some incredible rec leagues. So if you have something like that, if that's something that you want to create, definitely invite some of those newer players to something like that to make them not feel so much pressure. And then recognize returners publicly to build identity and pride. Always recognize players. A funny joke that we have, if it's your first time playing with us, if you come by the second time, we'll jump on the microphone, either myself or someone else, and they will say, hey, they decided to come back. We didn't scare them away. So anything like that to sort of, build that excitement, make them feel like they're a part of the club, they're a part of the joke. They think that it's, hilarious, and that it does help build some type of rapport as well within your community. All right, role play scenarios. This might sound crazy, but practice greeting a new player with a partner. Find a cornhole player in your community, maybe get your spouse, family member, whatever the case is. Practice in a mirror if you're getting ready for the day. No judgment on how long it takes you to get ready. Practice in the mirror while you're driving to work, driving to an event, whatever the case is. Just make sure that you practice for different personality styles. Maybe rotate the types that you would get. Maybe you wonder, okay, what if someone comes in and it's their very first time, or maybe they're shy, or maybe mom and dad are bringing in their kiddo for the first time. How would you react? What are some fun things that you could say? Who are some players that consistently come to your club that could also help you make them feel welcome? So always trying to, do something like that. Debrief. One of the things that I typically do after I meet somebody new, I'll have the conversation. Then I usually go back to the table, start working on a few things. Then I wonder, okay, did that work? Was it awkward? Was I too awkward? What are ways that I can improve for the next time? Or is there something that maybe I need to follow up with that person to just, continue building that bond and that relationship with them in order to, have them want to come back. All right, so a wrap-up action item, and then, of course, any Q&A. So challenge. Every single person who is watching this, I would challenge you to make a memorable first impression on 3 new players this month. No matter who it is, ask some of your players, hey, bring somebody brand new today, do whatever it is that you want. Try to find 3 new players, whatever the case is. Find a way to make an impression. What did you do? Did you make them laugh? Did you say a joke? Did you bring them on board because of a special that you were running? Find different ways. And keep sharing your wins and experiences with directors. We really want to hear, hey, did I, do something hilarious? Did one of my players run around in a chicken costume and introduce herself to a brand new person, and now they think it's hilarious and they want to play with a chicken once a month? That happens. You might not think that it does, but it does. The chicken in some of the live streams, I will admit, does come from Arizona. Totally fine. But, anything like that, just, share it with us, make it memorable. Let us know what you're doing. We want to create some positivity. We want to see what works for everyone. Is there something hilarious that you tried? Is there something, memorable that you've done that just seems to work every single time. So definitely share it with us. Tag our club engagement page. Is there somebody brand new? Tag us, let us know what's going on. And, we want to be able to share all of your wins as well within the community. What's the chicken's PPR? I am embarrassed to say that the chicken probably has a pretty good PPR, at least a 7.7. Yeah, that's an interesting thing for the chicken. So yes, she has a much better PPR than I do. All right, perfect. So that was fairly quick. We didn't spend, a lot of time. I think a lot of you know exactly what you're doing. I hope this helps, with anyone who is trying to figure out some different ways, unique ways, or maybe just don't know a good approach. So I hope some of these tips really helps you out. Always remember those very first 7 seconds are going to determine for a lot of people, cornhole related or not. First 7 seconds is what's going to determine someone's impression of you. So always make sure that you make that count and that you make the, the right impression. If you feel like maybe, the first 7 seconds weren't the best 7 seconds that you gave to someone, there's always that opportunity to go back and try to say, hey, you know what? It caught me at not the best moment or not the best time. Let's start this over. I want to introduce myself in a better light now that, this part is away or whatever the case is. But it does take most people at least 7 seconds to make a decision whether or not they're going to want to get to know you. All right, perfect. So I will leave it open for about a minute or so for any questions. Again, if something pops up that maybe we didn't cover, you have questions, definitely send a message to myself, to Michael, any of the directors. There's so many people who are doing incredible things across the country that I think, most directors have some pretty good answers to these as well. All right, let's see here. All right. Few more seconds here. All right, perfect. I think we are all set to go. Thank you guys so much for coming up. Let's see. Eliminate friction, entertain, always engage deeply, experiment constantly, empower action. Love that. I'm going to show that right here, Daryl. That's amazing. Yeah, thank you guys all so very much. I hope you guys have an incredible rest of the week. Some of you I will see in Colorado in just a few days. But other than that, I hope you guys have an incredible time. Good luck with all of your events during the week and this coming weekend. And enjoy the rest of your night. Bye, everybody.